Hey everybody, Bill Owen from MNPCTech.com. How you doing? Today we're going to do a tutorial on how to paint your DDR heat spreaders regardless of what brand or model they are. They're typically applied and made the same way for all memory modules out there by different companies. They're made from aluminum and they'll have a factory paint finish, and they may or may not have stickers on them. They may have clips or screws that hold them on, but what they all have in common is that each of the plates is fastened onto the memory modules that are mounted on the PCB board, which is green here, with double-sided thermal conductive tape, which is typically made by 3M. So regardless of what the exterior design is, they all typically come apart the same way, and it's okay to paint your heat spreader. The heat is going to dissipate right through the paint, and here's an example of a factory painted heat spreader right here. Mushkin's Radioactive, and then we got some old school Gigaram here, which was painted from the factory, and it's just held on with the double-sided tape on the memory modules. So what we're going to do in this guide is we're going to remove the stickers with a heat gun. You can also use a hair dryer if you don't have a heat gun, and then I'm going to show you how we pry apart our heat spreader plates so we can prep them for custom paint finish. So the first step is we're going to remove the adhesive labels, and you can pick them off with your fingernail. However, I do recommend using a hair dryer or a heat gun to heat them up first so you don't leave a lot of adhesive residue behind. And then if you want to get at the corners, you can use an X-Acto knife and just take care that you don't scratch up anything. So I'm going to turn on the heat gun, and we'll check back with you after we get the labels removed. You don't need a lot of heat. That's why it's okay to use a hair dryer. But you can see the advantage is that when you heat it up, you can get them off without any tacky glue or adhesive left on the surface. To pry apart the heat spreader plates, I'll be using a flathead micro screwdriver. There is a fold on either side of the heat spreader plates for the Vengeance style heat spreader plate from Corsair. So I'll just use this to pry them apart. And if needed, if the plates are being stubborn, which is the adhesive tape, you can heat them up and it will help free them up a bit. So there's our plates right there, and since only one side is seen, we're just going to paint one side. So the next step is prepping the plates for the primer base coat. We're only going to paint one side of the heat spreader, so I'm not going to worry about masking off this side. The next step is we want to create a bit of adhesion for the primer base coat. And what I'm going to use to do that is a red Scotch-Brite pad. This is medium grit, but you can also use medium grit sandpaper, like 400 grit would be sufficient. And I'm just going to scuff the surface so we create a bit of bite for the primer. You should always scuff the surface of any object that you're going to paint and use a primer coat before a color coat. It just creates a more durable paint finish. And it doesn't take much. So while you're watching this, tell me what kind of DDR you have. I'm just curious to know what the heat spreader design is like. Just post it in the comments. So once you've done that to the surface, clean off the surface with either a clean cotton rag, or what I like to use is a tack cloth. And you can get this at auto parts stores or home improvement stores, just to clean off all the dust before we lay down the primer coat. Before you apply your paint, make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. Wear a filtered respirator mask too. And what I'm going to do is apply 2 coats of this primer, a light coat, wait 5 minutes and apply the second coat, and then I'm going to let the paint dry for 45 minutes before I apply my first color coat. So here's our heat spreaders with a 45-minute cure time. I've got 2 light coats of primer, and I waited 5 minutes between each coat. Now we're ready to apply our color coat, and I'm using Rust-Oleum Gloss Protective Enamel, and the color is Harbor Blue 7722 because it fits my Golf Racing Blue theme. What I'll do is I'll apply 4 coats of this paint, and I'll do it between 5-minute intervals. And then I'm going to allow the paint to cure 48 hours before I handle it, because I don't want to get finger impressions in my finish, even though Rust-Oleum says that you can handle the pieces 4 hours after applying the final coat. I'm going to wait longer. I've used Rust-Oleum paint before, and it typically takes longer cure time, and I just don't want to take any chances, especially since it's an enamel paint. You'll want to wait 48 hours with the Rust-Oleum Protective Enamel paint, because if you don't, if you rush and you go to reassembly, you may get fingerprint impressions in the paint as you squeeze them back onto the thermoconductive tape. So I would wait 48 hours. Now, reassembly of the Corsair Vengeance DDR heat spreader plate is very easy. There's a folded lip on either side of the plates. You go inside on one side and then on the outside of that lip on the other. And then you just squeeze the plates back onto the thermoconductive adhesive tape. Now, if you feel that your tape is weak, the plates don't want to stay onto the DDR module, what I'll do is I'll post a link in the video description to a couple of resources. You can get thermoconductive tape for heat spreader plates, or you can also use it to adhere heat sinks onto something as well. Then I'll also put photos from this guide and links to any other supplies or resources I've used in this guide. These are going into my Cooler Master Case 5 racing build, my own personal build for once. And this is inspired by the Steve McQueen movie Le Mans, in which he drives the Porsche 917 race car. So it's the Golf Racing Blue and Orange. So yeah, painting your heat spreader gives you that added detail, especially if you're going for a specific color theme. And again, the heat is going to dissipate right through the paint, so don't worry about that. I hope you've enjoyed this guide. Please share it. And sorry I haven't done more videos. I've just been so busy. 2016 has been an incredible year. This project's taken me forever because I work on it in my spare time. So thanks everybody for your support of MMPC Tech and watching. And again, I'll post a link in the video description to a full pictorial tutorial on what I did in this video with all the links to the resources for stuff that I used. So thanks for watching everybody, and have a great day.